You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. We're wrapping it up today, but we have time to hear from the Community Associations Institute. The CAI Minute is brought to you by Start to Finish Maintenance Contractors. Start to Finish provides 24-hour service for all of your home and business maintenance needs. Call Start to Finish at 952-259-1219 for your home, for your business, for your peace of mind.
Are you a member of the Community Associations Institute? For nearly 40 years, CAI has provided education and resources to volunteer homeowners who govern community associations and the professionals who support them. Visit caionline.org to learn more. The address again is caionline.org. CAI helps community associations board members by providing online resources, in-person training, and hard copy publications written by association management experts. CAI offers community managers professional development, networking opportunities, and a certification program that is established as the industry standard nationwide. Minnesota has its own chapter of the Community Associations Institute to bring resources and tools from community associations around the country right to your home. Visit www.cai-mn.com to learn more and become a member of CAI today. Your community and management company will benefit from your involvement. Join the Community Associations Institute today at cai-mn.com and click on membership.
Well, we've been talking about President Obama's housing initiatives, right, Gene?
Yes.
He's come up with a list of ideas and actions to help get the housing market back in recovery, and we haven't yet seen anything new or anything helpful, have we?
No. We've seen things that have been basically more of the same, or something that really hasn't changed anything, because
right.
as we dealt with in our very first story in dealing with rules and regulations and ordinances and state statutes, if there is not an enforcement piece, if you haven't taken the time to identify if this is an issue and what is the behavior you really want,
right?
You're not getting anything.
It's pointless.
And that's what's happening here. To say, as we talked about here, about disclosures, notices needing to be given to the borrower prior to it becoming effective, which means when they sign on the dotted line, that's already happening.
That's right.
They have not identified and said how much time should you have before you are able to
close the deal.
To close the deal, yeah.
Right, that's right.
I'm thinking
because we were talking before. It's not the lack of paper. Yeah. It's not the lack of forms to fill out. It's the fact that you do not have time to process it all and read it all.
Maybe a suggestion would be, and this is something just came to me here in Minnesota. If an individual, this is not true for homeowner associations because that's considered commercial, but an individual homeowner, I believe, when they are signing a contract with a contractor, they have a 3-day right of rescission.
Okay.
So they enter into a contract for them to do work. They have 3 days to take a look at it and be able to turn back and say, I've changed my mind. That has been allowed with people when they buy into a homeowners association. There is a 5-day right of rescission where a person may have entered into a purchase agreement and it's going to move forward, but they have 5 days after receiving those governing documents to read them and say, you know what? I've changed my mind.
Right.
I don't think I want to live in an association.
Right.
How about, wouldn't that be a mess with a mortgage? You can move ahead with the mortgage and then 3 days later. But again, you have to identify how much time are you going to give, and you have to realize what is going to be a realistic time period. And then it's up to the individual to do it.
We already have regulations about disclosures in lending and what has to be disclosed. It has to be disclosed prior to any change in fees and prior to the closing of the deal. That's already happening. And there's still problems with the process.
Yes, and so
this is not new.
He hasn't asked for any change.
Right.
Let's deal with this third issue here. This is the one that really gets under my skin a little bit.
Does
okay?
it?
Oh, yeah. It says to facilitate foreclosure prevention.
All right.
Okay, it sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
And here's the idea. Most large lenders also have large mortgage servicing rights portfolios. So in other words, the mortgager who lends the money now ends up, instead of selling it off, keeping it, because they are now making money on the interest that they receive with each payment.
They're making money on
every month.
servicing the loan. So they're sending you the statements every month.
Yes.
They're moderating or
And there's a
moderating
little
it,
service fee that's added on to that
Right.
too, okay?
Right.
And our president says this inevitably leads to a conflict of interest because the lender who owns the servicing rights to a borrower's first mortgage many times is also the lender for the borrower's second mortgage. Okay?
Okay.
And so what he's saying is, if we're going to deal with trying to mitigate mortgages, if we're trying to modify, people know that the first mortgage supersedes the second mortgage, and it will wipe out the second mortgage if the first lien holder forecloses, unless the second lien holder moves forward. and so they said this is a conflict of interest because
the same entity has both mortgages.
Yes, and I want to say, why is this a conflict of interest? Notice the words that are being used here, because what I think ends up happening a lot of times, I think with our government officials, is they are trying to create a boogeyman. They said most large lenders, large mortgage servicing. So we know that this is big business, and big business means bad business, right? Conflicts of interest. Why is it a conflict of interest? The guy who's willing to give you a mortgage for 80% of your loan now turns around and gives you a loan for 25%, so you're underwater.
5%.
And people and lenders did that all the time.
That's right.
And you're willing to do that. Why is it bad for them if they're involved in both of those things? Because you know what? If there was modification going on and the second mortgage was wiped out, guess what? That lender is now going to have to be responsible to everybody else who's invested in their company.
Yep.
And I want our listeners to know and understand something very important here. This isn't just big business who's just trying to rape and pillage, and trying to take advantage of the poor consumer here. They have lent money to you. Where do they go to get the money to loan to you? They turn, because these are public companies, to people to buy stock. Where is stock bought? Well, individuals will buy stock and play the the market.
Yes.
But everybody that invests in a 401k and has a mutual fund.
Yeah.
How about
they have a stake in how this bank does.
How
about
operates. Teachers' pension funds?
Yeah.
How about pastors' pension funds?
Yeah.
They have large sums of money. They go and invest in the stock market. And with a mutual fund, you have someone who says, we're going to kind of spread the risk and we're going to invest in a number of large companies.
Right.
And so they could very easily be giving money
to vilify these big banks and to regulate them and to make them lose profit is affecting everyone.
Yes, I can tell you that I know that my my in-laws with their pension, being as a pastor, their pension amount has gone down 30-40% over the last 3-4 years.
Oh my Lord!
And they're not the only ones.
The income they're living on.
That's what they've set money aside all these years,
right?
And they have invested in all these other companies. But now, if we say big business, big companies, because you want this money now, That's bad.
Yeah.
You're just no. They now have to be responsible to the investors.
Yeah.
And so, folks, when you tell a bank, "Oh, they're making billions. Well, why don't we just take a little money from them?" That's the idea, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But all they're doing,
it won't hurt them.
they're going to not have money now to give back to the investors.
That's right.
And now you, who thought you were going to put money in a 401k,
But you had a retirement plan.
Now
you thought you had a retirement
now
plan.
you don't have that.
Yeah.
But I guess you can always rely on the government.
Yes.
And
And you know what?
Social
I've
Security,
been
right?
thinking about that. Yes, I've been thinking about that. You were talking about the nanny state, and then
Yeah.
we let the government get more and more and more involved in our personal lives. We look to the government to bail us out, to help us, to fix situations. It's so simple. It's just like any parent-child situation. A good parent raises their children to be independent and go out in the world and take care of themselves. But if that child has to stay in my home, and my parents said this to me, and is eating my food and is accepting my shelter and maybe even money from me, then he has to follow my rules. Correct?
Yes.
That's what the government does to us. Okay, you want our help. You want us to bail you out. You want us to fix this situation for you. Fine. But you're accepting our help. You're accepting our money. So now we're going to give you more rules to follow, and we can do it.
The only thing that I would take exception is it's not their money. It's our money that they ask for, right? And they ask
Good
for
point.
more and more of it to be able to do things that don't work. Hey,
gosh,
folks,
I have a headache.
Yeah, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Have a great Sunday. Join us next week right here on Where You Live with Gene and Tony.